What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of street photography. We're going to be going out through the city of Chattanooga and just seeing what all we can find. And the cool thing about street photography is I haven't done it a lot, but one thing that I have found out is you find a lot of unique pictures and just unique reactions of people going throughout their day, and sometimes you can just capture some of their emotions and just stuff on the street, as in cars and stuff like that. So let's go out and see what we can find. So the first lens I'm going to be starting out with is the Canon 24mm. It should be pretty cool for some wide shots if you don't know much about cameras. So we're going to try to get some pictures of cars, and maybe this building behind me. It is a solid gold building, so it's pretty cool and unique. So let's go out and see what the 24mm can get. One interesting thing about street photography is you really get to run into people, and like just now I just went into that coffee shop. I only take a couple of pictures because it's kind of odd when you go up to talk to people, but you do get to meet up, and I got to follow them on Instagram, so they're expecting some pictures from me. So you never know if it may end up to some business later on in the future, but we'll see. So one thing I did notice about street photography is you deal with a lot of people, and the settings are always changing on your camera, so it does get you a lot more used to your camera just adjusting the settings fast, so you'll be able to get used to that and really get whatever shot you want. Everything that you've seen so far has been with the 24mm, which is a pretty wide lens. I am using a prime lens, so I can't zoom in with it, sadly, but we're going to be switching to a 50mm. So with that, we're going to be able to zoom in a little farther and see stuff a little more clearly further away. So I'm hoping that I can see some people from across the intersection and stuff like that. Maybe just get some people going throughout their day, because it's getting close to 5 o'clock and people should be leaving. So we should be able to get some pictures and just see what we can get. So I am actually headed more towards like the business center of Chattanooga, just so I can try to find hopefully some businessmen in like suits and stuff, and see what all they're doing just on their phone calls and stuff like that. So I took some pictures of the 50mm, and they have turned out way better in my opinion. We're gonna get back to the house and see what all we got. I'm just gonna get through some edits. I've talked to a few people, taken some pictures of people with their dogs, and it's really just a cool experience talking to, you know, people you wouldn't really encounter on a normal day, and you're just doing street photography and you get to meet new people. We made it back from the street photography. This is actually the day after. I didn't edit all of the pictures that night. I kind of just really wanted to go through them just to kind of show what you can get out of street photography, and what all, just the experiences and stuff you can get just going out and talking to people, and not, you know, texting someone and just having these like kind of, I guess, cyber conversations, I guess. It's more like face-to-face contact as you're doing street photography, instead of setting up select things. So let's get right into the pictures. So the first picture we have is a guy in a business suit. He is leaving his office building. He was just kind of in his mood, just, I guess, wanting to get home, talking to his wife or whatever. So I think this photo is pretty cool, with the black building behind him. The next picture we have is a girl taking pictures. So this is actually pretty interesting. I was walking across the street and she was taking pictures. I thought she was taking pictures down the road, but I come around the corner and she's at the stairwell, and I see two girls with very white faces with neon green hats on, and it completely threw me off. I thought she was taking pictures of the street, come around the corner to two very dressed up models. So the next picture I have is in front of the golden building that I talked about where I parked. It is a picture of a BMW motorcycle. I like this in black and white just because it looks kind of classical, I guess. It just looks more like a vintage motorcycle, so I decided to put that in black and white as well. The next picture we have is a man walking across the street, and I used a yellow fire hydrant to kind of just take a picture to fill up the negative space, and then he's walking across the street from I believe it's a bank. I'm not 100% sure. I took a couple of pictures of it, and I think it's a pretty cool photo. So the next one, I was at the Chattanooga Billiards Club, and I was right outside, and I saw a foosball table inside, and it had a light above it. So I actually took my phone out. I've never tried one of these pictures, and I used the reflection to reflect another light below the foosball tables, which I thought was really cool, and it's kind of unique. I just like how the light is shining directly down onto the foosball table, and it just kind of like isolates the table itself. So the next picture, I had to take a selfie in one of those circle reflections, and it didn't turn out too great, but you know, we'll take it. So the next one was the building that actually the guy was walking in front of, where I took him with the yellow fire hydrant. I went a little farther away. This was taken with a 24mm, and I think it's pretty cool. It's really in detail, and I don't know, it kind of looks like a unique building, kind of like I feel like you would see it on National Treasure, honestly. So the next picture we have, it was taken with a 50mm, I do believe. It's a lady walking across the street. She had a quite serious face on her, and she, I don't know, she just kind of had like a style to her and like a swag, so she was strutting across the road, and it's a pretty cool picture, I believe. The next picture is a lock, and it's on a chain. This is pretty cool just because the lock is rusted, and I took this with the 50mm. Just a close up, you can see the texture of the things, and you can see like the bokeh of the dumpster that is chaining up. It's a pretty cool picture just because of all of the detail you can see in the lock. The next picture is some kind of railing they put together. It was off to the side, and I have one little focal point that is in focus. It's kind of in the center of the picture with a bunch of the Christmas lights behind it, and I thought this was pretty cool. You can't really tell what it is, so it's kind of like a mysterious photo, I guess you could say. And then the next picture was actually me using the same railing that I got all the bokeh from, but I did shoot someone through the circle, and I was pretty happy with it because he's pretty in focus, and he looked like a pretty happy guy after talking to the couple that was walking away from him. This one is what Chattanooga is famous for. It's the walking bridge. I actually went underneath the bridge trying to find like a different angle, and I found this little statue, maybe. It's like a little stand where it's just like a little monument, I guess. It's just a different angle of the walking bridge, so that's why I chose to keep it. I haven't really seen many angles from this, so I liked it. So the next picture, I actually went up onto the walking bridge, and I really like this guy's jacket. I had to crop it in just a little bit. This was taken with a 50mm still, I believe. I like this one just because he's looking straight at me, and I don't know, he was pretty focused, and I don't know, it's a cool picture. Just I like how his jacket is matching his helmet and everything. Sure, I actually found this. So they have like circles and stuff on the walking bridge that you can look through, and then I found a even smaller one. And so in this picture, it looks like I've cropped in like a lot of it looks like almost like I used like a lot of dehaze in Photoshop or in Lightroom, if you've ever used that. That's like a black ring around your photo. And I didn't do that at all. It's actually just shooting through a circle, and the guy is in focus, casually walking on the bridge. The next thing, I actually flipped to the other side, and there's a couple, I believe they're taking engagement photos. It was really cool, just how they're in focus in this little circle or a little hole that I shot through, and you see the photographer taking pictures for them, so I thought that was really neat. The next picture I took, there was a little bike rack. It's just a little pole, and then it's got a little circle on the end, and it was yellow, and then I saw the yellow bus come up, so I went running up, shot the yellow bus through the circle, and that's how you see that yellow ring around it. And I thought this was pretty unique, just how I got the yellow ring with the yellow school bus. So the next picture, this is where street photography is cool. So I actually went into this, it's a bakery, and this lady was scooping cookie dough out of her thing, or out of her little tub, I guess she had, and it was a pretty unique picture. It looks like I put a lot of light onto the cookie, but I didn't. That's just how the photo turned out, and since I shot it through glass, you can see the reflections of the lights behind me, and then there's reflections on her shirt. Which I thought was really unique and cool, just to see I don't really know how the cookies got so much light into them, but they look like perfectly in focus while you can see what she's doing. So this was actually one of my favorite photos of the day, just because it's just something that I wasn't expecting. It's just unique. And so the next picture, I had the same building I used before, and I was in the road, and this is taken with a 50 mil, I still believe. This one just kind of stood out just because it's a fancy car going down the lights with a bokeh. I think it's pretty unique. And then later on in the day, I was actually headed towards like a coffee shop that I go and sit down to listen to a podcast or whatever. And I ran into this guy. He was taking pictures, and I saw him with a GoPro kind of vlogging, and I was like, huh, that's pretty unique. So I tried to take a picture of him from the street, and he saw me do it, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? I said, street photography. And we kind of ran into each other, and you know, we exchanged business cards and Instagrams, and he had a super nice camera, a super nice guy. So I took a couple of photos of him, and I just kind of slapped some different edits on there, just to give him some variety if he wanted to use them. So the next picture I took was a picture of flowers. I didn't really see me taking a picture of flowers, especially in street photography. But what I did is I took the flower bed, and then I saw a bunch of, there's some cool lights down an alleyway, and so I really focused in with the 50mm and shot some really cool bokeh. So this was probably my second favorite of the flowers. So if we go to the next one, I really like this one because you can see just like the texture of the flower, and I think this looks more like a background picture in my opinion, like almost a wallpaper. So that is why I really enjoyed this, and this is probably one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken, just because I think it looks really unique and in detail with all the bokeh in the background. So the next one is by the Gold Building where I parked at. This is a time clock. This is a pretty fancy hotel. If you come to Chattanooga, it's where a lot of the richer people will stay. I don't really know much about McDowell time, but I figure this looks pretty cool in black and white as well, just because it looks more classical, and with all the lights behind it, it just kind of looks like an old time, like a vintage photo with a vintage clock. So the next one is a picture of, it's like a little cedar tree. There's a big street behind it, and I just focused in with a 1.8 50mm, and it really just brought out all the bokeh and everything, and I think it's a pretty unique picture. So the next one, I thought this was really cool. This guy is in here drinking a drink at the bar, and there's a very different doorway, I guess you could say. You can see him clearly through the door, and it's just pretty cool because you don't really see any doors with like circle arches, at least where I live. So he was just in a in-depth conversation, and I don't know, I kind of caught it in the action. I really like this photo just because of how lit he was, and I don't know, it turned out pretty nice. So the next one is an alleyway I came across, and it has a bunch of umbrellas. I would love to shoot a photo shoot here actually, just because of how cool this looks, just seeing a bunch of umbrellas above you that are all lit up. And then the next one, this is actually pretty cool. I wish the windows were a little bit cleaner. So I talked to this guy who was about to pay for parking. I said, hey, can I take a picture, while you're paying for parking? He said, sure. So he had a cane, and he was, trying to figure out the pay machine. And I took a picture from almost the back side of the thing, and it looks kind of just, I don't know, it's so dark and kind of like mysterious, I feel like. So I don't know, it was a pretty cool photo just to see him. He was actually struggling to pay for parking, and it was pretty funny, and you can see how focused he is on his face. And then towards the end of the trip, I ran into some protesters. There was probably like 30 to 40 of them, which is pretty crazy. You don't really see that much around here. And they were just protesting, the no war in Iran. So I went ahead and took some pictures of them. I talked to a couple of them, and I also talked to some police, just to, see what all was going on. And it was a pretty cool environment because you just don't see that much around here. And then I also took a picture of a construction worker. I asked him, and I got his Instagram, got an Instagram follow for it. So I used a cone that he had set up. He was fixing concrete, and I used the cone in the bokeh. This was taken with a 50 mil as well. And then I shot him. He decided to look up towards the camera, and it ended up being a pretty cool photo. And last but not least, I asked to take a picture of this girl and her dog. Her dog was super cute. This was a pretty cool picture just because it's on the walking bridge and there's just so many leading lines and stuff on the bridge. And the only thing I do not like about this photo is it's a little bit out of focus. If I could have got her a little more in focus, it would have been super cool. But her dog was super nice, and I got to pet the dog, so it was an overall cool experience. So now that we have our first street photography shot and I got all of the pictures from it, I overall had an amazing experience. I talked to a coffee shop maker, I talked to a couple of girls and guys, got their Instagrams, got Instagram following it, so it's a good way to increase it. I also talked to another guy that is a businessman that he said his company is looking for a photographer. So overall, this was an amazing experience just to go out and, you know, see what other people are doing in your city that you don't really catch sometimes. And then there's just like hidden things like this flower picture I think is super cool. So anyways, I hope y'all did enjoy. If y'all want to see something specific, please let me know down in the comments. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.